Greetings, my name is Walter Hang. I'm the president of Toxics Targeting, and I'm very pleased to announce the 2018 Clean Up Cayuga Lake campaign is now fully underway. It's hard to believe, but behind me, Cayuga Lake is an impaired water body. It's in the National 303D Registry of Impaired Waters. It's required a comprehensive cleanup called a total maximum daily load that was required as a high priority in 2004. 14 years later, we still don't have a TMDL that's been proposed or adopted because the state of New York under Governor Andrew M. Cuomo simply will not enforce the law. The reason I'm here today is because I'm very pleased to announce that the Ithaca Journal has just published a very important article about harmful algal blooms by Tom Wilbur. And this reports the manure problems that are draining into Cayuga Lake and many other impaired water bodies all over New York State. Toxics Targeting about a month ago reported that there are literally hundreds of these manure spills that are impairing Cayuga Lake, Seneca Lake, and many other water bodies, and yet there's no program to require these spills to be reported, to be assessed, and to be properly cleaned up to protect water quality. And so we're basically calling upon Governor Cuomo to clean up Cayuga Lake without any further delay. This is a requirement of the Clean Water Act that's never been enforced. And so without further delay, the drinking water supply source for 30,000 plus people in this area has to be safeguarded. Number one, from these manure spills, from non-point source pollution problems that are flowing into Cayuga Lake, from lake source cooling, which never should have been granted a discharge permit circa 1998. Because we now know that its untreated discharge of soluble reactive phosphorus is contributing to water quality impairments in Cayuga Lake, and pursuant to a key provision of the Clean Water Act 122.4 you can't issue a discharge permit for a project that either through its construction or operation will contribute to water quality violations. And this entire area of Cayuga Lake behind me every year is inundated with algae, with aquatic weeds, and most importantly, with harmful algal blooms, which have been confirmed again in 2018. In 2017, this entire area behind me was just inundated in a giant harmful algal bloom of cyanobacteria. It was threatening the drinking water for many people who drank water from the lake including from a municipal system at the Bolton Point facility. But many other people all up and down the lake can be harmed by coming in contact with these harmful algal blooms. We now know that Cornell University knew that at the time of the year, in the late summer and early fall, when its air conditioning system at Lake Source Cooling is reaching maximum use. And this is where they draw cold water from the bottom of Cayuga Lake and use that water to air condition the Cornell campus. That's great. The problem is that the water at the bottom of Cayuga Lake naturally accumulates what's called soluble reactive phosphorus. And dumping that soluble reactive phosphorus into the area of the lake behind me promotes the growth of harmful algal blooms, a wide variety of other phytoplankton and aquatic weeds. And that's how come this entire area has been an impaired water body for many, many years. There hasn't been any swimming in this area for more than 50 years. So we're calling upon Governor Cuomo to first clean up Cayuga Lake by adopting a total maximum daily load. And this has to require the lake source cooling discharge either to be moved off the shelf into deeper water, where the soluble reactive phosphorus will go down to the bottom of the lake where it's pitch black, it's very cold, no algae will be formed, or alternatively, lake source cooling has to treat its discharge to take out the phosphorus. Right now, the soluble reactive phosphorus discharge completely untreated, and it is released into the area of the lake with the greatest water quality impairments. That just can't be tolerated anymore. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency tried 20 years ago to resolve this illegal phosphorus discharge, but the state of New York would not go along. So we're calling upon Governor Cuomo to resolve that problem without further delay. And in addition, we're also calling upon the governor not to issue a general mining permit for the Cargill salt facility that you can see up the lake behind me. This just can't be allowed to perpetuate salt mining directly under the lake. This poses an unprecedented threat to potential water quality problems if, heaven forbid, that mine collapses or has an uncontrolled release. The water in the lake would go into the mine and become salty. So we've written respectfully to Governor Cuomo about all of these matters, and we're basically saying there's so many lakes in New York with water quality problems that New York State has failed to deal with for 10, 20, 40, 50 years. Enough is enough. We have to make sure that these problems are further resolved without any additional delay, because so many people depend on these bodies of water for their drinking water supply, including the city of New York. So I invite people to go to toxicstargeting.com, click on the 2018 Clean Up Cayuga Lake campaign link. You can see our data, including the manure spills that we identified from the Department of Environmental Conservation's own data. You can see our respectful letters to the governor to clean up Cayuga Lake, Seneca Lake, Owasco Lake, Skaneateles Lake, all the waters in New York that have suffered harmful algal blooms. And we've also requested that the governor clean up all the toxic sites in the drainage basin for Cayuga Lake so that the water quality will be safeguarded. And we believe that if we can clean up Cayuga Lake, which is one of only 3 bodies of water that are scheduled to get total maximum daily load, comprehensive watershed cleanup plans in the coming years. That could set a precedent that would be replicated all across New York. The governor adopted a much ballyhooed $65 million harmful algal bloom program, but it's basically a bust. It can't in any way solve the problems in Cayuga Lake and other impaired waters because it doesn't identify where the pollution comes from, and it doesn't provide any kind of comprehensive plan to clean up those problems. The only way to do that is people have to walk the watershed and conduct what's called a Phase 1 environmental site assessment to identify every illegal wastewater discharge, every non-point source of manure or phosphorus or other nutrients, and all the other wide array of pollution problems that threaten our bodies of water. And once those sources of pollution have been identified, they can be assessed, priorities can be adopted, and then the comprehensive cleanup can begin. That's never been done in New York. That's how come we have all these water quality impairments. So that's what we're calling upon Governor Cuomo to do. He promised individualized cleanup plans for Cayuga Lake and many other lakes. He hasn't kept his word with all due respect, and that's what we're calling on him to do. Solve these problems once and for all, no excuses, no further delay, and I invite all activists who are concerned about property values, protecting public health, protecting our environmental resources, to go to toxicstargeting.com and click on the 2018 Clean Up Cayuga Lake campaign. All New Yorkers have a vested interest in making sure that Cayuga Lake gets cleaned up. Because if this lake can't get cleaned up, if lake source cooling can't be required to fulfill the requirements of the law, then there's very little hope that other impaired water bodies will be addressed by the governor. Thank you so much. I'm Walter Hang at Toxics Targeting, and I invite people to get in contact with me if they want to learn more. Go to toxicstargeting.com.